Laura and Shane here. Ari, where's the video of your dad wiping out surfing in Mexico? I'm going to find this, Laura, Shane. I'm going to put this at the end of today's show so that you all have to stay just to see a gnarly wipeout. Now, it's not as good as that Wipeout TV show. So, how many of you guys tuned into that Wipeout show? I don't remember the last time I've seen that, but I would say I would be looking. I remember looking at my mom. We're watching the show. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, this is not the show for you because we just talk about Wipeout here. So if you're thinking like financial stuff or like team members or hiring or any of that, you're in the wrong spot. Okay, this is Wipeout talk. No, guys, today we have a really special guest who talks about how we hire the people at Root, which is really what makes Root Root. So it's going to be a blast. You guys could have chosen to do so many other things, and you chose to be here with us. So thank you. And when I say us, I'm talking about me and Jay here. And for those who are not on last week's show, Jay is the first person that takes the call when you reach out to Root. Not only is he the coolest guy ever, Hoy's like, I'm in the wrong show. Oh my gosh, this isn't Wipeout. Hoy, you're such a joke.
Here.
Hoy's here. Jay, have you seen Wipeout?
I have. I absolutely have. My kids love it.
Okay. When I'm watching, I will be watching going, don't laugh at this one. Don't laugh at this one. And then I just start the Wipeout. It's the lack of coordination that just gets me.
And it makes you look more. I think people athletically minded think they're going to go on that show and crush it. But there's things like the first one where they jump off those big red balls.
Yeah.
And it's like, bah, bah, bah. And then it just makes the average or an athletic person look super unathletic. It just looks painful. I don't get it. And for a guy who loves sports and I think I'm pretty athletic, I don't think I would do that show.
I would not do that show. It's a lose-lose. And it's actually the first requirement to work at Root. They have to go through the Wipeout challenges. And Dylan, who's our special guest today, who we're going to bring on in a few minutes, he's actually going to explain because he's the one who develops those red balls and the size and circumference and how slippery they are. So you guys are going to get all the details. It's going to be a ton of fun.
That would be incredible if that was Dylan's side hustle.
Could you imagine? You guys are going to meet Dylan and be like, he's the coolest guy ever. But in all seriousness, a few things. So guys, thank you for being here. Scott, what's up? Scott, congrats on the Burnley promotion. Thank you. For those who don't know, Burnley, we're going to the Premier League. Okay. So it's just pretty much the best week ever. Louisa, good to see you. Louisa, I know you don't get to join everyone live. Good to see you. PETA, we talked during my surprise live show. Brian, must be part of James' master expansion plan. Yes, it is, Brian. You got it. Kyle, good to see you, Kyle. We've got some fun things. And here's what's cool about this show. Guys, some of you here are financial advisors like Kyle, who likes doing early retirement planning, likes learning from what we're doing. We might do some sort of partnership long-term. In addition, there's people who want to work with Root as a client, and there's people that want to work at Root. Brian's asking here, how many Root team members are there? It seems like there are several who are administrative, not financial advisors, which is correct, which we'll go over today. So it's going to be a ton of fun. If this is your first live show, let me know in the chat. Sometimes you guys will surprise me and be, actually, I've been on every show. Sometimes you'll say, nope, this is actually my first time and it's fun. I've never really been able to make it work with my work calendar, but I actually just retired so I could come on the live show. Don't retire to come on the show. Okay. It's recorded. You guys can catch this later, but it is more fun for us live. So Jay here, Jay has his own show. So for those who are not on last week's episode, I'm going to pull this up so you can all see it. Jay does a show called Root Roundtable, and this can be a various amount of topics. So I'm going to pull this up right now and I'm going to share my screen so you can see it. But Jay is also going to be the one in the chat. So today, when you're all chatting in there, if you have questions, if you have, hey, where do I go to if I want to work with Root? What if I want to apply to work at Root? Jay's going to be the guy dropping the chat in. So guys, make it entertaining for him. Now, if you're driving, don't crash and sue us and don't do anything crazy. But Louisa, so many things happen, so I missed several live shows. That's all good. Todd, second live show. Todd, don't worry. So this Root Roundtable show is on our Root Financial YouTube channel. Yeah. Guys, we're almost at 1,000 subscribers, so help us out. We're almost there. If we get to 1,000 subscribers, Jay will go on Wipeout. Okay.
Yep. So you got to smash that subscribe button. Get us a little juice on that. We'll do the red rubber balls that Dylan's going to design, and I'll go head first into it.
There you go. So, guys, this Root Roundtable show, we brought on our social media specialist. That was on Monday. You can
Yep.
see James went live. This is
Yeah.
where you can go. So, I'm going to drop this link in the channel. So, no need to put it in here, Jay, because I'm right
Okay.
here. But this right here is where you can go if you want to look at any Root financial content. That's not going to be me explaining a Roth conversion or Jay going
Mhm.
in a depth of some social security strategy. That's if you want to get a wider grasp of Root and what we're doing. So, guys, thank you once again for all of you who are here. Luisa, I love that you put it in the community, by the way. Retirement came early to me. I quit my job. Awesome. Luisa, you have plenty of time to be on these live shows now. So,
Yep.
no excuse if you're not here. Now, in all seriousness, today we're going to be talking about hiring and the team at Root and what makes Root Root. So, with that being said, Jay, I'm going to make us small and I'm going to
Yep.
bring Dylan on and make you the star of the show, Dylan. So,
Yeah.
Dylan, please tell
Yeah.
everyone who the heck you are and what you do here at Root.
Who the heck am I? Thank you so much, Ari and Jay, for the intro. I'm Dylan. That's who the heck I am.
Yes.
And I am the talent acquisition manager, head of talent. I'm the TA guy, essentially at Root. And so what that has mostly looked like for me so far, I've only been here since February 10th, FYI. So still relatively new to Root, but super excited to be here. It's been an absolute blast. I handle all of the wonderful people that apply for our open roles at Root, and I handle the applications, the resume screens, the scans. I take everybody all the way through the interview process, and then I'm also taking over onboarding. So once you from the first time you type your name or upload your resume into the application, all the way through to you're here, you're a Rudy, and we've got you onboarded. We're getting your first couple weeks kind of figured out. That's kind of my domain, and it's
Amazing.
just the best. Yeah.
Dylan, I love there's so many directions I want to go. And guys, put your questions in for Dylan. It can be anything of, once again, how many Root team members do you have? We'll answer these questions. But if there's anything, whether it be, hey, what are the credentials to get
Yeah.
hired as an advisor at Root? If it's anything from, is there like a check on personality and how do you do that? The thing I would love to ask to start with, selfishly, Dylan, is we talk about these 3 H's. What are those and why is it that that's involved in our process?
Love it. Yes, thank you for bringing up Triple H, as I like to call it, for all those wrestling fans out there, if there are some. So that what Ari's referring to there is the kind of characteristics, the main characteristics we look for attitude when we are interviewing a candidate. So there's several different interviews, and we can get into all of that. But the very first interview that a candidate comes for at Root is a culture fit interview, and a big part of that is attitude. And so the Triple H, like Ari mentioned, that stands for. We can go into all of these, but it stands for humble is the first H, and then hungry, and then human. So those are the big 3 kind of buckets that we look for potential candidates that we are thinking about joining Root, want to go through the interview process. Are you humble is a big check, and these all kind of tap into our value at Root of service. Like, so everything is wrapped in service at Root, and so these 3 H's or Triple H kind of all touch on service in different ways. But humble, do you understand as a candidate that you don't know everything? You're not going to know everything. It's okay to ask questions. Are you thoughtful about the needs of others, the needs of teammates, the needs of clients, above your own needs? Showing humility there. Can
Mhm.
you roll with the punches? Are you, is there like a distinct lack of complaining? I think is a good show of humility. Not that there aren't things that go wrong, or we need to make improvements, or kind of, criticism is healthy and good, but there's a difference between that and just having a complaining attitude. So yeah, that's kind of the humble piece, and then hungry is just what it sounds like. I mean, are you driven? Do you want to go above and beyond for not just yourself and your family, but for our clients, for your teammates at Root? Are you future thinking? Are you growth oriented? That's kind of the second H of hungry. And then human. That one's, that can go several different ways, but it's, are you a relational being? Can you carry a conversation? Would I want my parents to meet with you? If it's for an advisory role, would I want my parents to meet with this person and have them eventually become my parents' financial advisor? Can they connect with all different types of people? Would I want to be stuck in a airport layover with this person, maybe at the bar, kind of hanging out? That those kind of like personality tests kind of make up the human aspect. So it's, yeah, that's Triple H: humble, hungry, and human.
Love it. Okay, because I love when you guys are chatting. This is awesome. I love the questions coming in. Peta's saying humble is a great thing to look for. We always have more to learn. So because you guys are here live, we're going to address some of these questions in addition to what we really want to talk about today, which there's a lot to talk about. So Todd, I'm going to let Dylan take this first question. What's a red flag that indicates someone would not be a good fit on the Root team?
Great question.
Great question. Thank you, Todd. And I think I think where we would start is essentially the inverse of the Triple H that I just shared. So if someone's not humble, if they come across as, I had to spearhead everything, I get things done, I leave destruction in my wake. Well, of course they wouldn't say it like that in an interview, but there's things that you can pick up on that makes a person sound puffed up, not humble, but kind of braggadocious, and like they're the man, they're the woman, they just get it all done themselves, they don't need to ask for help, they it's not a collaborative kind of environment that they foster. I think that's probably the biggest red flag is you're violating the very first H in Triple H. You're not humble, and that can kind of express itself in different ways. And then there's other things that kind of go that can fall into a different H, which is hungry. Like some people, I mean, Root is remote. It's fantastic. There's a ton of benefits to working remotely. There is a tendency, though, for some candidates to kind of come off like, oh, I don't like going into the office. I'd rather have a remote job. I don't really care where it is. I don't care about the mission. I'd rather just like work from my couch. And that's, and so there's like motivations that are in those answers that you can tell just it's not going to be a good fit. You're not fitting into the hungry attitude category. So I feel like those are kind of the big two, but yeah.
That's a big one. So I have a quick story I want to tell because this comes up a good amount when we're speaking to people who want to work with Root or at Root. And so with that, we're going to answer, Brian, we're going to come back and answer your question of how many Root team members are there. Seems like there are several. We'll outline how many advisors are here, how many non-financial advisors, how do we hire? How do we make sure we don't hire so fast that the service drops? We're going to get to that, but just real quick. So many of you know this, but the reason that I'm an advisor today is because my parents were burned by a few different advisors. And some of the advisors they liked, meaning it was fun to correspond. It wasn't the best guidance, but they liked them. And at one point, there was an advisor that they really enjoyed. Once again, wasn't the best advisor, in my opinion, but they enjoyed speaking with them. And in the same way, people talk about investing and the best philosophy is the one that you agree with, meaning, for example, today, I know there's probably 100 exercises I should be doing to play better soccer, but there's 5 I like doing. And because I like it, I'm more likely to follow it, which means I'll have more success. So my parents were like, look, maybe there's a better advisor out there, but I like this guy. So I'm going to work with him. And then all of a sudden, the service started to suffer and they couldn't figure out what happened. They said, hey, they're not responding to emails. They just didn't know what. And what happened is a different advisor at that same company quit. Nothing to do with that advisor. Where do you think all of those clients went? Those clients went to my parents' advisor. So my parents are now going, why is our service suffering? I just can't figure it out. Well, what happened is that advisor now has to service so many different clients. They cannot be proactive. They cannot speak to my parents who are now feeling like it wasn't the same service when they started. So making sure that we have the right team members in place, it's not just for, hey, do they love their lives? Yeah, that's important. And we want to hire awesome people who love their lives. But it's also important for people like you who are working with Root so that, and I say this a lot, the joke of who's Lewis, where you like your advisor, it's going well. You hop into Zoom one day and you're like, who the heck are you? Well, what happened is you are just passed to the next advisor because turnover was so high, and that doesn't make a fun relationship when you're trying to build something for the long term. So with that being said, awesome questions coming in. Peta, what's your capacity to onboard new advisors? Do you have a limit to a certain number per month? Brian, I once thought about becoming an advisor after retiring. Now I'm not sure I even want to dedicate a lot of time managing my own account. Yeah, Brian's like, I don't need a new job. So with that being said, Dylan, where would you like to take it? Any questions you want to address? Anything outside of these questions that you're dying to talk about?
I'd love to take Peter's question
Yeah.
real quick, and then yeah, there's a couple other things that would be fun to cover. I think like the actual interview process, if there's interest in discussing that. But Peter, so yeah, what's the capacity to onboard new advisors? So there's not necessarily a limit, as but to Ari's point, we are very stringent at Root about not allowing our client service, the bar that Root has set extremely high, I'll say that bar can never be lowered. And so we want to grow. We are growing. It's a really exciting time at Root. We're bringing on several new lead advisors in the next couple weeks and months. And we also will be hiring associates to kind of help, fill out a new team that we're bringing on. We can talk about team structure. That'd be fun too.
Yeah.
But essentially, we are growing rapidly, but intentionally. We never want our client service bar to dip even a little bit. We don't want what Ari just described. Hey, I have this new advisor. I've never met them. Who is this? I'm getting passed around. No one knows my history. We essentially want, I think James says or has said, we want all of our clients to feel like and experience that they are one of maybe a couple dozen clients that their advisor has. So we kind of use that as a guiding light as we're growing, as we're expanding how many people we can serve. We have to keep the service so tight, and that's what really emphasizes who we hire, who we let in the building. There's a really stringent standard, and that's what we try to keep it to. So short answer, no limit on growth, but it has to be intentional. And if anything starts to slip with clients, we're going to pause and take a look at it.
Love it. Questions coming in. Yep. They want to hear about the interview process. Hoy, Peter, Laura, Shane, and then we'll get to team structure because Kyle wants that too.
Yep.
Love it, y'all. You're gonna love this. It's another thing with everything that's the same letter. This one's the 4 C's for the interview process. So we start with the culture fit. That is the very first interview you will have after the application, which is another thing that we can talk through. That of course comes first. So it's the culture fit. That's going to be with yours truly. That is my interview. It's the first conversation that you get to have as a candidate at Root, and it's to gauge what we were talking about earlier, the triple H. It's to gauge your attitude. It's to kind of understand your screen presence, your motivations for your work. Why are you in this industry? What excites you? I don't want to give away all my questions, but I love to ask. I love to ask candidates to tell me about their best friend, just to kind of hear what you say. What kind of traits you are attracted to in other people and may share with them. So that's kind of a fun one that I just gave away. But yeah, that's kind of the culture fit first round. Do I want to be with this person and work with them, long term? And if it's an advisory position, mostly they are. Those questions of, do I want my parents to potentially take advice from this person? Do I think they'd be capable of connecting with someone like me and someone like my parents, and just their ability to do that, and also be a great team member internally? That's a huge part of it too. So that's the culture fit. That's the first round. That's the first C. Second C is capabilities. So now we're getting into, okay, yeah, yay, all the culture stuff. That's great. It's a good fit. But hey, can you actually do the job? Because that's really important. We just talked about the bar of service for clients being so high. So there is a technical capabilities fit, and this is different for every role. If you're applying for a lead advisor position, it's going to be the most stringent and most difficult technical assessment, and it's in the form of like a case study. And it's kind of it's like a fun walkthrough. I say it's fun. I've never had to do one. I get to have the easy, really fun conversation, but it's kind of a role play conversation with one of our senior advisors where you just walk through. They pretend to be a prospective client, and then you as the candidate get to be their advisor, and you walk through all types of different things. There's major points that we kind of need you to hit along the way, and then it's another chance for them to gauge, could you do this with Root clients? And also it's a chance for the candidate to gauge like another couple of folks, like, do I want to work here with this guy, this gal, anything like that. So that's the second C, capabilities. The third one is chemistry, which I kind of shoehorned into making it a C. It's technically called the like team fit or peer fit interview, but I like to have the 4 C's, so we're calling it chemistry. And that's essentially you get to interview with a peer. So if you're interviewing for a CSA role, you'll talk to 1 or 2 CSAs who are currently doing the job. Same thing if it's an associate or a lead advisor role. Those are the main roles that we hire for. So those are the examples I'm giving. But it's a little more casual conversation. It gives you the chance to really ask questions. Hey, okay, great. I talked to Dylan, the kind of crazy culture guy, and then I talked to a senior, advisory person that, would be my boss or my boss's boss or something. But now I get to talk to an actual peer, like who's doing the job that I'm applying for. Give me the details. What is it really like? Let me really pick your brain. And we want to offer that up to every candidate. So that makes it to that round so they can have the chance to really get an actual feel for what it's like to do that particular job at Root. And it gives us on the inside another data point for kind of that Triple H effect, or gauge attitude, gauge just how was the conversation. It's another input on our side too. And so that's the third C, chemistry. And then the fourth one is company. Is it a company fit? And that's essentially, it's the last conversation. You've made it through all the hard stuff. Now you talk to James Canole. I should just change it to the Canole. That would still be the fourth C, the Canole fit. And James, it's usually a much more laid back conversation. It's essentially gauging, is Root, like, what are your career goals? Is Root going to be able to kind of support you long term for what you're hoping to do? And another point for to gauge mutual fit for James to do that too, since he is the founder, and he still is involved in all of the processes. So 4 C's. After the Triple H, it's the 4 C's: culture, capabilities, chemistry, and company, or Canole.
Love it. I like Canole.
Me too.
A lot of questions are coming in, Dylan, and I am a huge advocate of transparency. So I love these questions. Anything to, hey, Dylan, like, why you? Everything to, how are these kind of Root requirements different from other firms? Because a lot of people say, hey, it's important to have a good work ethic and be coachable. And it's one thing to say those things, but it's another thing to go, no, we live it and here's how we do it. So before we go to any of these questions, which are good, so guys, keep them coming. So I want to ask about team structure, because Laura and Shane, they currently work with Root. They're with Caleb, and they're like, hey, we want to learn more about team structure and how we build that out. So if you could address that high level, we'll go to some questions after that.
Yeah, let's do it. So team structure, that's a great question. So we currently have 3 advisory teams, and that is constructed of a senior advisor who is kind of the leader of that ship, and they manage or get to support by managing 5. If a team is fully fleshed out, there's 5 lead advisors. And those leads are the main point of contact. They are the client relationship. They are who you're thinking of right now if you are a client at Root, and who you correspond with, who you meet with. That's the lead advisor. And each lead advisor, once they get to a certain level, of clients, and they have some tenure here at Root, they have an associate advisor that is on kind of their team, and that's the pairing that we have here at Root. There's 5 lead advisors per team, with 1 senior who supports all of them, and then there's each one gets an associate, and then there is a client services associate that will, at full capacity, support 3 of those lead and associate pairs. So if you have spaghetti brain right now trying to think through that, there's a great visual that we can share maybe after the show that kind of has the breakdown of the show, of our teams. But it's senior, 5 leads, 5 associates if we're fully staffed, and then there's 2 CSAs per team, because they each serve maximum of 3 of those lead and associate pairs. So that's how we have it structured. We found that is going well from a bandwidth perspective. And essentially what we do there with the lead and associate, just to touch on this real quick, we have what we call, it's almost a farm system at Root. So we have lead advisors and we have associates. Our associate advisors are not associates for life. They are currently associates, and they are future leads is how we view them. So a big part of the lead advisor role is mentoring, coaching, bringing up an associate to eventually leave your little team and either join your same team or join a different team as a lead advisor. So that's actually a big piece of the kind of team dynamic. And then that's also the case a lot with our client services associates. They want to be advisors in some cases not. They want to stay CSAs or go into CS management or something like that. That's totally fine. But a lot of them want to join the financial advisor track, and so they would go from CSA to an associate advisor and then get that mentorship at that level with that one-to-one relationship with a lead, so they can eventually become a lead as well. So there's a lot of hiring from within, a lot of backfilling that we're excited to do, and a lot of, we're going to be opening up more teams as we grow. I mentioned there's 3. We're opening a 4th advisory team this year, and yeah, a lot of exciting growth. That's team
Dylan,
structure.
I know I'm going to need the visual, even though I could lie and say I memorized everything you just said. But in the meantime, if you don't mind looking for it, we could put it after. If you have it handy, we can check it out.
Yeah.
But in the meantime, if you guys go to the website and just click about, it's not perfect in terms of what we just explained here, but you can see everyone wants James's biceps right here. Okay. So there those are. So just for all those wondering, those are real. It's not AI. And then you can see here the difference advisors in terms of like titles of senior financial advisor versus lead financial advisor. You can kind of get a sense when you go throughout here of, okay, for example, there's James, there's myself, then this goes to the first question today of like, how many people are here that are not even doing advisory work? I think that's certainly worth touching on because, for example, head of investments. Okay, well, what the heck does that mean? Like, don't advisors invest the money or does somebody else invest the money? Josh is our head of culture. So is his job to just make sure the culture is great because it's virtual. So that must be difficult. So guys, we've had different episodes where I've brought on Josh onto the show. I've brought on Brooks onto the show. So if you want to check those out, you can on previous lives. We've got Dylan right there, that smile right there. Looks like a potential wipeout component to me. I think you could go on there. And then the CSAs, when we talk about CS, client service, we talk about putting the serve back in service. And that's a big part of what we do here. So you can learn more about them if you're going into our website. But if you have that visual handy, Dylan, feel free to show it. If not, we can get it and put it after.
I do.
Okay.
I do.
Well,
let me share my screen.
To share. If it doesn't let
Let's
you,
do it.
I'll fire somebody. So no, I'm just kidding around, guys. Okay. So no
Here we go, team.
Here we go. Okay. I'm going to add it right here. Yep. We got it. And if you can zoom in, I don't know if it lets you, it's pretty good, but if you can zoom in, I know a lot of you are on your phone right now. And Vineet, we're going to get to your questions. Like, do you have to live in the US to apply? We'll get to that stuff later. Others, more technical questions coming in here, but yes. So feel free, Dylan.
Yes. Can you see that?
Yes.
Is that helpful? Okay.
Great.
So yeah, like I was saying, that's the senior advisor up top, and then this is a fully staffed team. So 5 lead advisors rolling up into that senior advisor, and then each one has an associate, and as well as there's kind of what you see here, a bonus associate, because that senior advisor role, they are still an advisor. So they still have clients. In some cases, they've stopped taking on new clients, but in some cases, they are still taking on clients. So they have an associate that works with them, and they are served by a client service associate. And at capacity, each CSA on that bottom rung there serves 3 of those lead and associate pairs. So that's the gobbledygook that I was saying earlier. Now it makes hopefully a lot more sense when you can see a picture.
Yes. And this might apply like for a lot of you that are with us right now. Some of you are like, look, this is cool to know, but will I even like know this if I'm working with Rue? It's all happening behind the scenes. So you don't need to know anything we just showed. However, if you want to work at Rue, it might be comforting because I know a lot of you with us right now, you're silent in the chat, but you'll say, hey, I don't like responding when I'm, in the chat, but I'm here. I want to work at Root one day. I just don't really know exactly what it looks like. Well, now you get to see you would be supported by a client service associate. Here's when you would have an associate advisor and stuff like that. So with that being said, Dylan, anything you want to add on to that before going to questions?
Just one other real quick thing. That's a good point, Ari. Yeah, you wouldn't know this because it's a kind of an internal document, but just so the audience knows, if you do come do the interview process, part of that culture fit or like first conversation, first interview with me, I always go over this. I go over the team structure, and I go over, comp, and just I go over the full interview process as well, the 4 C's, like I just shared. So I try to give as much context as possible from that first conversation, so the candidate knows what's coming, knows where they are. It's less disorienting, right? You show up to an interview, sometimes you don't even know what you're going to be talking about or who it's with or what it is. We try to mitigate as much of that as possible in that first conversation. So I show this and kind of walk through that spiel quickly so we can get to the fun, like attitude fit stuff, but try to give that context as much as possible from as early as possible.
Makes perfect sense. So Dylan, let's go to why you, because you're really the special person. You're too humble to say it, but the truth is your energy, what makes you you, this is attracting people right now. Do you know how many HR managers out there? And apologies in case anyone here is an HR. Look, a lot of them are proper. You're like, look, I'm here and you're my 9th interview today, and they're falling asleep. And then, sorry, no, yeah, you're a good fit. That is not how it works here at Root. And you can feel that from you, Dylan. So
Yeah.
why did we hire you, and why is it that Root attracted someone like you to want to work here?
Great question. Thank you, Brian and Ari. So yes, I I feel like kind of it starts with the leadership at Root. It starts with James. He has done a really good job of being proactive when it comes to several things, but I think culture is one of the main things that he has kind of put a stake in the ground of, like, we know we have oh my gosh, there's Chelsea. Chelsea is great. She just came through our interview process. We hired her. She's starting Monday. Chelsea, sorry if you didn't want me to share that, but we're just so excited for you to get here. I'm so glad she's coming on. She's coming on as a lead. She's going to absolutely crush.
Yes.
But anyway, what I was saying is the culture. Yes. So James is very proactive, as opposed to, a lot of cool companies have good cultures, especially when they start out, they're growing, it's exciting. There's a few people, and then some other people came on and they were good too, and just there's the snowball effect that's building. But if you're there's so many instances where culture eventually, as you're in this kind of hyper growth mode, it can be de-emphasized, or some people kind of join and snuck in that weren't the perfect fit, but hey, we just had to hire people, we had to get butts in seats to do, build whatever software or whatever we're doing. So it can, and then you notice that internally at the company, and you think, oh no, we have a culture problem. Let's fix it by hiring HR people, or let's hire a culture guy. And so it's kind of a reactive approach to be like, oh no, we're starting to notice a problem. Let's fix it by adding these things, or like doing these programs. But at that point, it's oftentimes the ship's kind of sailed, or there needs to be a long correction process to fix a culture. So all that to say, James has been very proactive. You mentioned Josh earlier, Ari. He's come on as the head of brand culture, and so he, like, that sits on his desk to kind of cultivate the culture for the internal employees, and that all feeds into my main position, which is taking in the culture that exists today. What's special about it? I get to talk to everybody that works at Root. I get to talk to all the leadership. I get to constantly pick their brains as much as I want about what is it. We obviously have captured lightning in a bottle here. What is this? Like, what about it? That's where Triple H came from. I got to interview a ton of people that work here and just ask them, who do you think of when you think of you have the best attitude to work at Root? And what is it about that person? And tell me. And it's confidential. I won't share the names, but give me the goods. And so I got to do that exercise, and that's like where the Triple H came from. I was able to kind of comb through all that and understand to a better degree what this lightning in a bottle is, and how to kind of cultivate that and also add to it as we grow. It's culture is about, it's about protection, but it's also about adding to and hearing more diverse and different opinions, different points of view that actually are a culture add and not just a culture fit. So I'm here to do that. I'm here to add to this thing that we have that's awesome, and bring on the absolute stars that are coming on as advisors to help our clients, and join the current group of absolute rock stars as well that are doing that work today.
Dylan, tell me this isn't Jay. Is this not the coolest thing ever? Let's just break down what just happened. Laura and Shane. So Laura and Shane were on a live show, guys. I don't know how long ago this was, but they were on a live show, and then we corresponded offline. Now they're working with Caleb. Here's a current client welcoming Chelsea, who's about to start working at Root. This is like Root inception to like the coolest
Inception.
degree. So this,
Rootception.
Laura and Shane, that's awesome of you. Thank you very much. And Chelsea,
So
we are
cool.
certainly excited to have you. And Dylan, look, this is what makes you you. And so people that I personally don't even know, Ryan going, hey, Dylan, what's up? They may be going through the process right now. Other people here are asking awesome questions. So what makes this so cool is it's just such a wide variety of people. I know we've talked about a lot, and we're going to do a summary in the Root Collective after this. So, Jay, do you mind putting the link? If any of you are not in the Root Collective, I'm going to show you real quick, and then Dylan's going to get his pick of last 1 or 2 questions here. So, Dylan, we have a lot of awesome questions coming in. If there's 1 or 2 that you really like, feel free to pick those, and I'll let you look for a second while I show the Root Collective. So, Jay just dropped the link. If you are not in this right now, it's really, I think, one of the most special things that we're doing here at Root. So you can see here, you can filter, for example, today, I said, hey guys, live show, we're bringing on Dylan, who has probably the coolest last name ever. So if you can't see this, Thorwaldson. I mean, if that's not a powerful name, I don't know what is. And
Great pronunciation. You killed it.
Thank you. I appreciate that. My last name's Taubleep, and I used to get Tabooly and Teletubby, and it was a rough childhood. Okay, so thanks for bringing that up, Dylan. No, I'm just kidding. Okay,
Totally.
so so how do we hire the best people? Check this out. If you want to work at Root one day, know how we hire our advisors that you'll work with. See why we only hire advisors with certain traits, whether that be designations or otherwise. So we're not going to get to everything, but one of the coolest things here, and guys, I just want to touch on this for a second because I brought it up on a recent live show. Jay Arizona here. This might seem off topic, but it's not. Okay. So I'm going to just break it down real quick. Here's someone who just retired over 3.5 years ago as a software engineer. It was stressful. He was worried about if he retires, am I going to be intellectually stimulated? So he ended up starting to write a book, and it was going very slow. And then he met someone, and now he's writing books, giving other people ideas in retirement about what the heck they want to do and where he wish he started. And guys, this is a community. There's so many different avenues to this. So I just want to make sure you're all aware, because there's certain tabs in here, such as Root Ready, which is if I want to work at Root one day, what do I want to know? Chelsea, who's now starting with us here, and she's going, I can't wait to start. This seems awesome. Chelsea, you didn't say awesome, but I'm going to pretend you did right there because this is good enough. Can't wait to get started. Well, Chelsea was in here, and I was messaging with Chelsea, and you can chat with Jay personally. You can chat with me. You can do it in the chat box right here. So you can see, yeah, there's a lot of notifications I've not responded to, but I do my best. So guys, this is the Root community. It's free. You can go join there. I hope everyone's in there who's on the live right now. Just let us know in the chat real quick. Are you already in the community? What do you think? Has it been helpful? Because we try to not, we don't want it to be so many things that you're like, oh my gosh, it's just, I'm getting lost with the amount of content. And we've tried to do a really good job to keep bots out, because it gets really difficult if you're in a Facebook group and all of a sudden you're like, hey, there's just so many comments here. They don't apply to me. I don't want to log in. But my dream is for this Root Collective to be one of your bookmarks. That's my dream. So if any of you have Root Collective as a bookmark, send me a screenshot via email and I'm going to post it because it's fun for me to do that. So Dr. H, good to see you. He starts with Caleb next week and you're on a live show. PETA loves the collective. So Dylan, with that being said, any specific questions you see coming in that you want to address?
Oh, absolutely. Brian, absolutely killing it with the questions. Thank you so much. I'm going to take another one of Brian's. How was I trained on what to look for now at Root? So I feel like I kind of touched on this actually already, but coming on, I was able to dive in immediately, talk to the entire leadership team at Root, and specifically have that question that I kind of alluded to. And just to reiterate, that question was, hey, leader at Root, or person who works at Root eventually, because I expanded the discussions as well after. When you think of the person at Root currently that has the best attitude and is so successful at Root because of their attitude, I want you to think of who that person is and I want you to think specifically about what makes them, what makes them successful at Root. What are the actual traits, characteristics, and what are specific stories that you have from working with that person, that that kind of flesh that out, that showcase that. And that's a really simple exercise, or like, kind of onboarding almost for me in this role. But it's so powerful because you get specific stories that kind of help bubble up into traits and characteristics that you look for in attitude. That's where, being humble and being selfless, putting others before yourself, and kind of being dedicated to your team and wanting to go above and beyond. That's hungry, so that one exercise spread across interviewing probably 20-25 Rudies, asking that exact same question and hearing those answers. That was essentially the supercharged onboarding that I gave myself, or training. But it wasn't a small task for the people I asked to kind of come up with that. It makes you think like, wow, I really need to kind of sit and think about the attitude here, who does well, and what it takes. And then that's where those awesome conversations come up, and where we've landed for attitude so far. So
Love it.
that was a good one.
Okay, Dylan, before your last one, because I want to make sure you get to choose, because I know there's more different things coming in. I want to come to Jay for a second. So Jay is a similar role to you, Dylan, but it's a different capacity. So Jay, I want to just ask you, because Dylan's role, for those who are joining late, which no worries, everything's recorded, so you can always go back to the beginning, and you'll be very confused hearing us talk about a show called Wipeout at the beginning if you just end up on that timestamp. But Dylan's role is to go, okay, are you a good fit? Do I think you're going to work well with the people at Root? Do I feel you're going to add value? Do I think if you speak to a client, they're going to go above and beyond? Jay is doing a very similar role for when people want to actually work with Root as a client. Jay is asking questions to determine, do I feel that my advisor is going to look at your name on the calendar and be like, I'm excited to help that person. There's value I can add. So Jay, I want to give you the floor for a little bit, because you're in a similar role. And if you have any questions you want to ask Dylan, or if there's anything that you just want to shed light on, all you.
Yeah. I think it's just so interesting, because people, I've talked about this before, is people want to know how do we ensure we hire advisors that give the same feeling and the same philosophy that they hear from Ari and from James, right? When you watch James and Ari, you have this feeling. It's genuine, it's authentic, right? And they talk about philosophy and our culture. So people really want to know. So what's cool for me is now, because we've taken the steps, we have processes in place to hire the best advisors, right? And so Josh was one of them, and now we have Dylan. And so that's something I get to share with people about the thorough process we take to make sure we get the best advisors, right? And it's not just the smartest people, right? Because you think about it, what an incredible role you have to be in to quarterback all of that strategy, right? You look at the Sequoia process, that's heavy. That's not your typical financial advisor. You're doing income planning, you're doing tax planning, you're doing investments, you're doing security. So not only do you have to be sharp as a tack there, but you got to fit into our culture. So I just love that Dylan's like, he's our hero. He's going to make sure that only the best come in here that fit this culture, that fit this philosophy. So now I get to talk about that, which is incredible. Now, and I tell people, I'm like, look, in reality, like part of our secret sauce, because you want that feeling, is our advisors, right? So we have to make sure we hire the best advisors. And I've had people go, well, do you only hire in California? No, we're virtual. And one of the reasons we love to be virtual is because I don't care if, and I'm sure Dylan feels the same way, I don't care if they all come from South Dakota. Wherever the best advisors are, that's where we're going to pull them from. And that's the beauty of being a virtual company, right? So Dylan, I actually have a question for you, because this is such interesting, because we get a lot of requests for this. I'm assuming we get a lot of applications, right? A lot of applications.
We do.
So, is there kind of a general figure of applications that we get? And like, I've always wondered, how do you get through all of them? And where do you start? Like, sorry, I know it's a weird question, but like,
Yes.
where do you
Oh,
start when you have a stack of applications for
yeah.
advisors?
Not weird. It's a great question. And I wanted to talk a little bit about the application, just how it's set up in general and kind of the process. So I appreciate it. It's perfect. So we do get a lot of applicants, and it's the best. I mean, it's so fun to work at Root and to see other people who want to work at Root. Just so everyone knows who's put in an application or is thinking about it, I look at every single one. We have a lovely ATS system, applicant tracking system, software that we use that is super helpful, called Ashby. That's a free shout out for you, Ashby, out there.
Free shout out.
So I think what really, to answer your like actual question of where do I start, how do I actually get
Yeah.
through these, what is really helpful is how thoughtful I think our actual application is. It's not just, hey, what's your name? Upload your resume. We'll take a look, and have a good day. There are several open-ended and thoughtful questions about kind of those deeper level things. What motivates you? What do you like about this industry? What does money mean to you as an applicant? So there are a handful of questions like that are thoughtful and meant to be thought provoking.
Yeah.
And we expect thoughtful answers. And so you can tell when they aren't, if it's a one word or if it's a NA, or some of those that go through the application but don't give it the time of day. That makes the review a little bit easier, on my side. So, and there's also a component, and I really want to stress this for candidates that are, or future candidates that are thinking about putting in an application. We also give the chance to upload a recorded video as part of every application for every role. And it essentially allows you to, like you said, Jay, we're a remote company. We do everything on Zoom. We do our whole interview process on Zoom. We do all our client meetings on Zoom. So it gives you a chance right from the application to give your best like screen presence. How do you sound? And for these, we hire so many client facing positions. It's really important how you present, and are you articulate? Can you speak clearly, and can you present well on a screen, and someone who's ready to go in front of clients or to be on these calls that are deeply relational. So we put that even all the way back into the application process, and it's very, very important. I watch every video. I like the ones that are about 2 minutes long. Some are 15, 16. It's just like, okay, I'll watch the whole thing, but it's not, we're not asking about the full, like, okay, I was born this
Here's
year.
my documentary.
Yeah, exactly. So anyway, I think having such a thoughtful, not to toot our own horn here at Root, but a thoughtful application that, you can tell when someone has put thought into it, and those always get a very thorough review. And if it's a good fit, they'll get pulled in. And then at a certain point, to your question, like when we know, like, since that application is so strong, it almost, before I even talk to somebody in that culture fit call, I have at least a decent sense of them. So if I get a good group into that culture fit segment, we have to kind of shut off the application at a certain point and not just continue to accept more and more, because they are great people still applying. It's a matter of timing. But the lovely thing, another lovely thing about this job and this industry is we hire for the same roles over and over. I mentioned earlier, we're going to be backfilling a lot of associate roles. We're going to open new teams. That means more client service people are going to need to come on. So even if you're an awesome candidate, I very sadly and regrettably send you a rejection email. It could just be a matter of timing. I really mean it when I say, please apply again. It's not, there's sometimes where we can't fully review you or bring you into the process because we're stock full at the moment, but it's a matter of timing. We'll be hiring that role. We'll be opening it up again. So please try again. We want the best people, and the best people are applying. So really appreciate that.
Dylan, you're such a legend. For those who do not know, so it's 5:48 where Dylan is in Texas. Talk about going above and beyond. He's got a family. He's with us right now because we want to have the live show at a time where all of you, or most of you, can join. And I just think this is so cool. Once again, Laura Shane is telling Dr. H, who's starting with Caleb in a few weeks, Caleb's awesome. Like, guys, this is so cool. So seriously, thank you for being here. Dylan, we'll let you go. But before we do, we've got in the collective, once again, Dylan can go in and give more of a breakdown about what are the 3 H's and the 4 C's. So we'll do a little breakdown of that after this. Dylan, anything you want to leave anyone with?
Absolutely. Again, thanks for having me on. This was so fun. But the last thing I'll leave you with, if you are a client services professional and looking to join the best RIA in the USA, which is
Yeah.
Root, we are currently still accepting applicants for the CSA position. Jay or Ari put it in the chat. It's just our open positions. It's the only one. We're accepting applicants probably just till the end of this week. So if you want to
Wow.
get in, do it now. I'm going to be the one looking at it, so keep that in mind. Whatever that means, I don't know. Just take comfort in someone will actually look at your application. So feel free to put a little effort into it. So, but yeah, that's really it. Thanks for having me, and you guys are the best.
Big shout out to Dylan, dude. I want to let everyone know, just like Ari and James, Dylan is the real deal. You say Dylan is delightful. You see that smile. He's the guy. Me and Ari got to spend a full week with him at the retreat. And we were so excited because that's the vibe check guy, right? In the end, he's the vibe check guy. If we bring on people that are like Dylan, dude, we are in a good place. So Dylan, thank you so much for dropping these wisdom bombs on us and educating us through the process. It was even good for me to hear about the thorough detail of it. Yeah. And it only helps my process even more. Right.
Yeah.
So
absolutely. Of course. Yeah.
Yeah. You're the man, Dylan. We're going to have you on again because I want to go into a few other topics. Shannon, Dylan is amazing. Shannon. Lauren, Shane,
hey,
Dylan,
Shannon.
Great information. Guys, was this helpful? In just a minute, Dylan is going to be off camera, so you can say anything, okay? We're transparent here, but we really, guys, we want to hear it from you. Was this helpful? We love what we get to do here. Dylan on Head of Talent, Jay taking the first call, myself making different videos. We all love what we get to do. So, guys, please let us know. Was this helpful? Because we do all of these shows for you guys, so please let us know. Dylan, thanks again for doing this, man.
Of course. Thanks, y'all. Y'all are the best. Appreciate you.
So, Jay, I mean, guys, was this not the best? Hoy, thanks, Dylan. Helpful. Thanks, Dylan. Great info, great energy. Guys, this is why we do this. And I mean, how cool is this? It's nearly 6 o'clock. He's got dinner with his kids. He's like, he sent me a note and he said, hey, Ari, I was on your last show and I just thought, I think I need to tell people about what we're doing here at Root. I didn't reach out, go, hey, Dylan, would you do me a huge favor? Would you mind just coming on and just letting everyone know about, he's like, I would love to do this. He's your fun guy that reaches out who also, and I don't think he portrayed this, which because he's just such a good guy, he's going to ensure that he's not just bringing on anybody because yes, he's got this bubbly, warm personality, but he's understanding, hey, this is someone who is going to be essentially trusted to manage someone's entire life's work. And Dylan doesn't want to be the person that says, oh, I hired someone who ended up not optimizing someone's portfolio so they have to go back to work. Like that is how this works. So it is not an easy role. And PETA is saying, now I want to work for Root. I mean, do you hire retirees? I mean, guys, I legitimately will get emails from you all and I get some fun and some not fun emails. So I'm going to share both guys right now. I'm not going to share my screen because compliance, but Orisha, Dylan, that was so awesome. If I weren't already retiring from Brian, I'd apply. Brian works with Harry here. So guys, some of the emails we'll receive today are, hey, you say you want to help people. Why do you have a $2 million minimum? Why don't you have 1,000 advisors? Well, guys, we could do that. We could bring on 1,000 advisors. We could drop the minimum and people would get terrible service. So that is something we're never going to do. On the flip side, we do have a lot of people who reach out who are saying, look, I want to work with Root. I really just don't know if that's an option. I don't know how that would even work. PETA is saying, I mean, I'm retired, but now this sounds like it would be fun. Guys, we're not against any idea. So I had someone, and Jay, you spoke to her. I'm blanking on her name, but she retired and she said, what is it? Jay, you'll remember better than I will, but she retired and she was basically saying, hey, I want to go back to work if I enjoy it, but I really think that there's something I could do that would be special if I got to be a part of this Root ecosystem. Patrick here is a good example. Patrick right now. Patrick says, I'm getting in late. No worries, Patrick. As a firefighter, I'd love to start a program that teaches financial literacy and principles to other civil service employees, teachers. Let's tie it into the Root ecosystem. Guys, we're not against anything here. And if you have an idea, I'm the idea guy. Part of being the chief growth officer is saying that's a great idea. We're going to execute this in 6 months because this is when we can do it in an optimal fashion. Maybe Hoy's saying, what if part-time? I could help others in their journey to retiring. I'm looking forward to when that might open up. Guys, give us the ideas. But Jay, I know you spoke to this woman. You remember what we're talking about here?
I don't.
Okay. This was like, I want to say it was like maybe 2 months ago, but you spoke to her. I was like, hey, Jay, this is someone who might actually like have a potential to work at Root, but we need to flush it out, because what we don't want is someone to come on and work kind of part-time. And then all of a sudden they're like, I'm actually retired. And the last thing I want is, Jay, we bring someone on and hey, the goal is to do this amount. And they're like, well, now it really is a job. And we're like, no, it is a job, but you know what I mean?
Yes.
Okay.
I remember that. I remember that.
Guys, no bad ideas. You can shoot me an email. Part of being the growth guy is trying to sometimes say, hey, we're not going to reduce the minimum, because that's where service would suffer. But if we can add more awesome team members, then eventually we can. So with that being said, guys, I'm glad this was helpful. Jay, I want to tell you first, because I don't think I've told you this, but I want to tell everyone else here. If you have an interesting hiring story, these are always really, really fun. I put something in the collective recently about, hey, I think it was just, hey, what is your why? Why do you have the job that you do? And how do you end up choosing this? And it was an amazing thread. It got like hundreds of responses. See if you can find it, Jay, if you don't mind, just searching
in the collective.
Maybe it's under hiring or like how I chose my job. It might take, I'm sure it was like a few months ago, but look for that. In the meantime, I'm going to tell everyone, and if you can't find it, no worries, but I'm going to tell everyone, this is a crazy story. And so, Jay, I'm going to need you to quasi listen, even though I'm giving you freaking 5 things to do. Okay. So I was working at this company, and if any of you have crazy hiring stories, put it in the chat, because these are always kind of entertaining. So this is a true story. And Jay, I'm sure you have crazier ones too, but this was early in my application process at a previous firm, big firm. And I remember I asked the person who was hiring me, I said, hey, I'm just curious. I'm just a curious guy. I'm not trying to look in or ask and, mess up anything, but just quickly, how many applications do you get? And he said something like 700. So I said, am I like going to be picked like out of 700? He's like, you're one of the top 5 because of the tax knowledge and the financial stuff. And I said, okay, but I'm curious, like, how is it you really 700 people? I mean, you can't interview 700 people. How do you do it? And Jay, here's what he said. He said, you really want to know? I said, yeah, I'm really curious. He said, we have a stack of papers, right? 700. I said, okay. He goes, we cut it in half. I said, okay. He goes, I take one half, I put it in the trash. I said, what? He goes, yeah, I put it the half. 700 is too many. I put it in half. I put these in the trash. I said, no. Those are people that like worked hard and then applied. And I go, what? He goes, those are unlucky people. I go, are you kidding me right now? You just take half. And he goes, Ari, this is going to sound really harsh, but this company, he goes, look, there's certain things in our business that are out of our control. And for the company I was at previously, interest rates really took a big toll on the company's revenue. So they said, we don't get to choose interest rates. That's being decided at a level that is beyond us. So in our business, there's a level of luck involved. So those 350 people, look, they're unlucky people. I'm not saying they're not qualified. Now, it was crazy to me, and it was still unethical to the nth degree. I'm like, come on,
100%.
But that is a real story that I heard out of previous companies. So that's the one that comes to mind. But
yeah, and that's kind of why I asked Dylan, because I mean, I guess it's a catch-22 for the guy in charge of hiring, because the cool thing is we get so many applicants, and we get so many quality applicants because, we're like you said, the best RIA in the USA, right? But for someone like Dylan, I'm like, how do you do that? Puts my brain into a pretzel, Ari. Like the thought of going through that, because like, of course, a lot of times you might have a big stack, but you're like, okay, this person didn't answer. They didn't go through the thing. They didn't do this. They didn't do that. But like he said, we have a really quality application. And so he gets so many good ones. And I'm like, man, so Dylan and the team have to take so much time and effort into going through those and making sure everyone is seen. And I don't know, I just give him big kudos, because like I said, that puts my brain into a pretzel.
Oh my gosh.
And I'm too nice. That would be hard. It would be hard to like say this is not a good, you really got to have a sharp
100%.
tool.
Jay, I found the thread. Okay. So
you did, because I couldn't find it.
Okay, because so the word, it was career. I didn't tell you. I didn't make
career.
it like
I put higher.
I know. I thought about it. I thought it was higher. Okay, so this was February. Why did you choose your career? Why do you do what you do? What made you choose it? What's the most fulfilling part? I'll start. And so this was my video when Dylan was like, hey, Ari, do we have 2-minute videos or 10-minute videos? I said, everyone needs to submit their documentary. No, that's not what I said. And don't submit a documentary when you apply. But this was, I mean, not all of you know, but the last thing I ever wanted was to become an advisor. And this is the truth. So this is my 25-minute story. But guys, the amount of stories and why people chose their career, it was so cool. People talking about when they got into IT, people talking about, I struggled to find a career after getting out of the military. Well, what I wanted to do didn't make sense financially. I messed around with more IT stuff, technical director, clients responding. I didn't even choose my career. I just ended up in it. So the amount of stories and awesome things, I'm going to put this in. So guys, if you want, the reason I'm bringing this up is, guys, go start a thread in there. It could be anything from, hey, like, how did you start your journey working with Root? It can be anything from, hey, I actually chose my career, but I'm hoping to switch to a different one. Patrick, I know everyone would love to hear your story. Patrick saying, let's go. I could build out a little mini academy maybe that we can teach in half a day. Absolutely. Yeah. Patrick, we're actually going to, and I'm a little early on this, but we're a few months, I want to say, away from starting something called Root for a Cause. So what that is basically where we're going to be able to donate time and do other things for people we can't help today. And so this might be something that goes along with that. So Patrick, shoot me a note. Jay, I'm just going to put my email in the chat right now, and I'm going to put it on the screen.
Okay.
This is my email. But yes, my team has access to this. So I'm not the only one seeing it, but my team will do a little alert with a star if they go, Ari, this is something you need to see. I think this is important. So you guys email me anything. I love good ideas. I love bad ideas. Nothing wrong here. This is really what today was all about. Hiring, get a sense of the people in the team. You've already been with us for over an hour. Just a few final announcements, guys, and then I'll let you guys go, even though obviously you don't have to be here. But if you go real quick to YouTube and then you go under Jay or my channel, you can see my recommended feed is all soccer or comedy content. So
mine too.
You can see my new show, Retirement Unfiltered. This is going to start next Friday. And right now we're actually talking about not using video just so that we can get more people to come on to share their story. So it might be like a radio show call-in type. We're still working out some kinks, but a lot of you have already applied to be on this. And we have an awesome star lineup for this new show, which is totally unfiltered. We're going to bring in guests on the show, and it should be really entertaining. This is the show you're on right now. So thank you guys for being here. And then sometimes I'll just go live. I'll do a surprise show. I did this yesterday, and there were about 10 of you guys that were live because it was during the day. And then you can see over 1,000 of you came back and watched going, hey, how is it I find purpose? All I did was talk about the community. And so Jay's putting a link to my channel under the live portion. You guys can go learn a bunch of different things. This is our way of doing this in a educational but entertaining fashion. If you're more looking for, hey, I just want to learn about a specific topic, go to our main videos. And this can be anything from, I just put out a video of healthcare, which I know is a really popular topic. I know, Jay, you're asked this a lot, but we just put out, hey, like, how do we save thousands every year before Medicare begins? More of a technical episode, a case study. I'm 62. Do I have enough? Then some of these statistics. You can see over 80,000 of you have been interested in retiring early. The question is, okay, when's the right time? And so I'm trying to give you guys the right firepower to know that, hey, I'm in a good spot. Here's where I go. Jay, thank you for all those links there. And then once again, guys, go to James's show to find it. Excuse me, go to Jay's show. So obviously you guys know James, partner here at the firm and founder. If you click on his channel and you go to the very bottom, you'll see myself as well as the Root Financial channel. This Root Financial channel, if you click live here, that's where you can go to be able to access Jay's content. And Jay is the awesome guy with us right now who takes the first call with those of you who reach out to work with Root. So guys, thank you for being here. Jay, anything else for today?
No, that was incredible. It's go Ari.
All right, I have to show my dad's wipeout because I promised.
Oh yeah, do it. Let's do it.
No, Jay. It's going to take me a second to find on my phone, so I'll let you entertain the crowd.
No, I think this was so cool. You know, I had Michaela, our social media strategist, on Monday. We had Dylan on today. I think it's cool. Like, part of these live shows are to kind of show you guys behind the scenes stuff of what's going on and who makes Root and what makes it great. And really, like, the secret sauce is the employees, right? Like, a lot of you guys face to face with the advisors, but the people in the background, from Shannon, who onboards us, to Josh, to all of our CSAs, I mean, just everybody, they're all incredible humans. They all have incredible stories, and like, they literally make up what makes Root so special. So it's cool that
Love
we get
it.
to highlight them. Yeah.
Guys, thank you as always for being here. Guys, do you want to see a crazy wipeout right now? Okay, so my dad charges. The reason my dad, who has an amazing story, I've had my mom on my show before. I brought her on, and I'm one of 3 brothers. I don't know why I had to think about that, but I'm one of 3 brothers. And I just went on. I said, "Hey, Mom, we just want to keep it really loose." I said, "I'm not going to prep anything with you." She goes, "Really? Do I have to come on?" I go, "Trust me, you're cool. People want to hear from you." So I brought my mom on the show. Jay, if you don't mind throwing in the link for that, it was on a previous live show.
Yep. I need to find that.
So I brought my mom on. I said, "Mom, it's going to be like, I'm just going to ask you the easiest questions. Like, you don't have to shred it." She goes, "Okay." First question. I go, "Am I your favorite son?" And so I just hop right into it. And my mom's like, "I love everyone," because she's just the sweetest lady ever. So with that being said, Laura, Shane, you guys asked for it. Here we go. Now, if you guys want to get more connected, Jay, I don't know. I mean, I don't know if you're doing the same level of content in terms of live shows and things like that on Instagram, but if you guys want, I am posting on Instagram. So I'm going to pull this up on my screen real quick. So it is at the username Early Retirement Ari. So if you search Early Retirement Ari, you can see I'll post some more behind the scenes stuff here, my Root story. I was starting cameras. I didn't even have a tripod, so I was using books at the beginning. You can see that here. And I'm doing different types of content. So I'm trying to keep it fun for you guys. Peta's, like, your mom was awesome. Scott, everybody from Root that have been on the shows have been super impressive. Oh my gosh, Scott, you drew that up just like we practiced right before you came on the show. Guys, we said, Scott, remember, no typos. Everybody from Root has been super impressive. And Scott, I'm going to send you that Venmo later. Good work. Okay.
Perfect timing.
I'm just kidding. Okay. So this is my dad's wipeout. Now, my dad, before I play the wipeout here, okay, my dad, the reason he is on planet Earth is to surf. Okay. The amount of times I was not picked up from soccer practice because this man was out in the waves, and my mom has stabbed this man's surfboards more than anything has ever been stabbed, because he was supposed to be picking us up. And then my dad would finally get to me and say, "Oh, you realize there was still a swell. Like, why do you have to do karate?" And I'm like,
waves were pumping, dude.
Waves were pumping. And so this is my dad. He is currently 72, maybe 73 now. And this was in Mexico just a few weeks ago. And so I was the one droning this. I was having fun. So I'm droning it. My dad's going. You should be able to see this. It might be a little small, but he goes for everything. So he's going. Boom. Just absolute monster of a wave.
Over the nose.
And my dad just comes out of the water and he just goes, "Did you get it?" And so it's just like, look, my parents for a living make movies and do documentaries and fun stuff. So I grew up in this content type household. But Jay actually has not told all of you guys, Jay wasn't a professional surfer in a previous life, but going down that golf route, Jay, that might be an episode for a future show.
Yeah, we can talk about all the iterations of my sports careers, but yeah, golf I thought was going to be it. I thought golf was going to be it, and we will share that story, but golf is near and dear to me. Soccer is near and dear to me. And Ari are like 2 peas in a pod, right? We obsess about soccer. He plays it, I coach it. And yeah,
who wants to join the Root Soccer squad?
Yeah, we might be a virtual team. By the way, you guys got to go watch videos. I mean, Ari posts them on his Instagram. You got to check him out. He plays in this Tiki Taka League. It's basically the best soccer players in LA. So there's former pros, current pros have played, and guys like Ari who played college soccer, who almost played pro, his brother. It's the most incredible stuff. So I actually show the videos of that to my daughter, who's an up-and-coming player, and now she's begging for Ari to come coach our team. So Ari's gonna have to do a special visit
I'm going to do it. And guys, if you want me to do it live, I'll wear the new Ray-Ban glasses where I can film everything. I'll be live with you guys coaching Jay, and we'll bring Dylan in if you want. We're going to need Dylan played rugby, so we'll bring Dylan in the future as well.
Oh, I forgot about that.
Yeah.
We, surprisingly, we could do a show and talk about all the Root athletes. We got former basketball players, soccer players. We got rings. Like,
oh yeah, the
right?
Root Olympics. We were joking about it with rock paper scissors, but it's about to become. We're bringing it back.
Oh, we got some heat on this team. So, anyways, but
okay,
thank you guys.
Last thing, and then I'm gonna let you all go. I'm gonna give you some insight only because you're here with us live. So, right now, we currently work with people by managing their assets, but there's some of you that are looking for more of a one-time plan solution, which we do not offer today. But, and Jay, you don't have this link, so I'm going to put this in the chat. Okay. This is, once again, not for everyone and not forever, but I'm going to drop a link in the chat. This is if you are seeking just a one-time plan, there's a few different advisors that I'm interviewing right now to see if they might be a potential option for people who go, I want to work with Root in the future, but I just want a one-time plan in the interim. And so this that I just put in the chat is an option there. And Dan, who is the most legendary person at Root, is saying Jay is modest about the golf. He led our team to victory at the retreat.
Danny D and the boys, I'm not sure what you're talking about because I wasn't even get to do Olympics. I was running my mouth the whole time as the announcer. I didn't even get to do the putting challenge. But
guys, if you haven't seen the retreat content, you've got to go to our Root Instagram. We put out a ton of fun stuff there. It was legendary. So, Jay, anything else you got other than we got to get Dan on a live show? Dan is I'll show him real quick so everyone gets.
Yeah, show Dan because you guys, Dan, he is passionate about a lot of things. This guy can talk to you about puzzles. He can do a 40-minute dissertation on fantasy sports, comics. He's incredible. He's one of the most well-versed person in the world. He barbecues. He does this. He does that. We just need to have a special on Dan and just let him just talk.
I think Dan. I tell him all the time, I go, Dan, you must have the record amount of best man appearances. So guys, do you want Dan on the show? Let us know in the chat here. And if you say no, you haven't met the guy. So I'm going to take that as a yes, but put, if you want Dan on the show. So Brandon, Chris, I've had Brandon on the show. Dan is saying this was a mistake to join. Dan, this is never a mistake. Brandon is saying here, I did smart tax strategies with Brandon. Chris, amazing guy, was actually the first advisor that James and I brought on. Chelsea, I did a tax strategy episode with her. Chris Brown, I brought on I want to say maybe a month ago now. Awesome new advisor here. Jeff specializes in behavioral planning. I've had him on a live show. So a lot of these are lead advisors, client facing. And then Shannon, our onboarding specialist, event planner. She does really everything. Gabrielle works directly with Dan. And so Dan here's our head of operations. If you're wondering why anything ever works at Root, it's because of this guy right here. And so if guys, PETA wants Dan on the show.
Yes.
So 100%. Orisha wants to hear Dan's puzzle skills. Brigitte is the executive assistant for Root and primarily James. Dylan, you guys met today. Brooks, our head of investments. Carly is the head of internal development. So last week, I talked about Root University. That's what all of that was about. Nick is our manager for client service. Josh, head of culture. Paul heads our planning. So he's the one that's running the mock exams before someone becomes an official Root advisor. So we have associates that have plenty of experience, but they haven't passed actually Paul's exams. Krista, Caroline, Cassie, all in client service. Ben, financial advisor here. So he's starting to take on his own new client shortly. Madison, client service. Kirsten, client service. Caleb, financial advisor. Harry, Naomi, Hannah, Kenzie, Evan, Lucas, Monica, Zana. Guys, so there's, I want to say in the range of 40 plus people.
Ari.
Yes.
You know what's interesting about Dan, which is another angle to talk about? Dan, I don't know if it currently is this way, but he was the former vibe check guy on interviews.
Yes.
Right? So before Dylan came on board, Dan was the vibe check guy. Think about this, guys. I'm showing up for an interview, right? You're always, getting prepped for an interview, what to expect. Dan comes on and goes, look, man, I'm just the vibe check guy. So let's chat. Let's shoot the breeze. That's what we did.
Yeah.
So, and if you can't like get along with Dan, if you can't shoot the breeze with Dan, you are out. You are out because he's like the easiest guy, right? And
Oh,
so after I got through with him, I was like, this is incredible. This is great, right?
yeah.
So he's actually been one of the guys that gave the okay, along with obviously you and James, to all of these employees.
Yeah.
So yeah,
I sent one advisor. I'll get messages from people of, hey, I want to work at Root one day. Can I skip the application process? I'm like, no, you have to go through the process. And at one point I had someone who I said, hey, Dan, I don't really know this guy that well, but he was in my graduate school program. I remember him being kind of sharp, but I don't really remember. Can you talk to him? And Dan spoke to him. He's like, Ari, great guy, but I actually wasn't impressed with his follow-up skills. And I'm like, oh, that's key here. So
yeah.
Dan, the most awesome guy, really interesting, lived in London. He has like 10 lives Dan could tell us all about.
Oh,
And what I love is just like him and Dylan, they're not so nice or so giving that it's, yeah, anyone can join here at Root. Like we are
yeah.
very selective. And so I
Very
never want you guys to take kindness for us in weakness in any capacity, because
right.
it's certainly not the case. So that's all I got,
That's
guys.
it.
Have a great night. We will see you next week. And then next Friday, mark your calendars, Friday at 2:00 Pacific, the new Retirement Unfiltered show. And then Jay, your show, is it next Monday?
Yes, next Monday. It's exciting. We're gonna have an incredible person, Anna, who runs a travel agency, and she is going to drop wisdom on you guys. So she's going to give us travel hacks, how to do it in retirement, and then we're going to bring her on because we're going to hit different segments of the world and kind of take them in bite sizes. So maybe one episode we'll talk about Western Europe and then go to Japan, things like that. It's going to be so fun. I'm like, from what I've learned from her in just a few minutes, like I've spoken with her, like it's going to be incredible. So definitely join Monday.
Amazing. Guys, join Monday. What time?
Yep. 4 p.m. I do 4 p.m. Pacific.
4 p.m., which is
4
better
p.m.
for most of you guys. I
Yeah.
think what we might need to do, it's a future episode idea, Jay, but maybe you do the travel expert, Anna, with
Yep.
Caleb, some geo-guessing alongside just potential. So guys, if you didn't
That is
see
a
this
good one.
episode, if you don't know what I'm talking about, I know I've said, guys, the show's over, but we get too excited. Laura, Shane, if you want to have fun on a Friday night and you're going to hang out with Caleb, by the way, I want Dan, when he comes on in the future, to talk about our Survivor. We do a Survivor draft, and Survivor, I'm going to save it. I don't want to tell you too much, but I am going to show you guys this as the final thing for today, which I think I've said final thing 15 times now. So
Correct.
this is the final thing. Sloan, thank you guys. We love doing this. So on the last show, what's so cool about why I love going live with you guys is you can see how authentic it is, but you can see this was a show where this is the episode. So I brought on Caleb, and many of you, including Dr. H, who might still be with us right now, there were about 4 or 5 of you who left this show going, I want this kid. My spouse is going to resonate with him. He really is a wizard when it comes to financial planning. People were calling him a mini James on the show. And so we were doing financial strategies. I was, hey, this hypothetical, we were getting into it. And then at the end, I said, hey, can you tell everyone about your special talent? And at the end, let's call it last 15 minutes, he was doing what's called geo-guessing, where you go on the internet and you basically, he looks up a random place, it spits it out, and his job is to guess where this is. I mean, it could be anywhere. And this guy has a special talent. He was hesitant to talk about it because he's like, what if it turns out like I get it wrong or whatever? I go, dude, the fact that you love doing this and it's fun, that's what makes you cool. And he came on, and Laura and Shane are like, yep, we've done it. He's incredible at this. And he's just an awesome guy. So that's truly it. We'll see you next week. Jay, I love doing this with you, and see you next time.
Appreciate you, man. Appreciate everybody. Thanks for the awesome questions and the engagement. That was so fun.
Thanks, guys.